Okay. So yeah, Brom, which one
So
did you
I found an open cut list.
open cut list?
Yeah, that's what it's called. So
What
it
is that?
makes it works with the components. I can show you real quick if you want to. Let me see
You
if
guys
it's
want to
easy.
see SketchUp extension?
Sure.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead, Brom.
I think I find the thing. Let me see.
Oh wait, I gotta
Oh,
make
it's
it.
still the same. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Okay.
So let's do just desktop one. Here we go. So there we go. So if you just have like a component, right here you have a button on top. It says open cut list, and go to parts list. Press generate. Gives you a whole list of how many you got and like how long they gotta be. And it gives you all the dimension. You can put it into like sheets of plywood and figure out how they're perfectly gonna fit in a sheet of plywood.
Oh, it'll like it'll lay them out to it.
Yeah, because I set this one up as, let me see. So I set this one up as, where does it say? Texture general. They set it up as dimensional lumber. You got sheet goods, you got edge banding, you got solid wood. So it just all calculates it for you. And it gives you like how many you got and like which length you got to cut them at. And then how much the total length you got. So if you're estimating it and you can like see how close you are with how much weight you got, you can look it up too.
Is that a free free?
Yeah, it's free.
Will you send it to me? Like send me the just send the name of it or maybe a screenshot or something.
Yeah, it's really cool because it really works really well with the components because it just takes the components and takes all the information from right there.
Sweet.
And then right here, you can just press on the little thing and it says show a model and shows you which pieces those are even. So if you're like, oh, what's part C again? So you press on the little thing. Oh, that's C.
Oh.
So actually, like it really shows you what it is.
Sweet.
So that's pretty cool.
I was checking. How'd you find out about it?
I was just messing around with this menu up here with the extensions.
Just looking through there.
And then I said open cut list. I'm like, that looks pretty interesting. Looks pretty handy. So I clicked on it and I started using it.
I've been SketchUp, and I don't know if this is something they've been doing for a while and I just subscribed, or if it's something new that they're doing. They're doing a video, like a live training every day, and some of the trainings are like going over a cool extension. So I just get something in my inbox, and most of the time I just ignore it. But it has been a good introduction to, if you see one that goes over an interesting extension, then they'll sort of like walk you through it and tell you what's cool about it. So that's been neat. And so they had one that was creating a hinge. So and create a hinge point in your model, and then associate components with that hinge point, and then like live rotate around that hinge point and then get it back to zero. And you can have multiple hinges. So you can have one thing hinge and another thing is attached to it that hinges as well. So it's not called hinge point.
What's it called?
It is called what was it called? It's gonna take me oh wait, maybe I can find it in my email. It's probably the
because I've been doing a lot of things that move, and I'm just using the rotate tool, which is making a little dot where I want it to rotate, and just use the rotate tool. Also, a hinge point should be pretty interesting, so I can move multiple components at the same time.
I'll send it to you guys. I'm not. Oh wait. Movable joints. It's called movable joints. And I'll share that. I'll share the link with you after class. Movable joints. I'll find it then. But he does a little video that just walks you through it, which is pretty cool. All right. Well, I don't want to spend our whole time talking about that. Anybody else have anything cool to share? Nope, nothing. All right. Well, first of all, this is our last week of classes. So there's one more. So there's actually just one video, although the videos from last week are relevant for this week. So there's one video to watch, and there's one more assignment. Everything is due by this Sunday. You guys have had due dates, right? But some of you have been missing your submissions. You can submit everything. You can continue to submit stuff. If you have anything that you have missed a submission on, don't ignore it. You can still turn it in, okay? But everything is due by Sunday at 11:59 p.m. Okay, so I need to get all of that from you. And then we're gonna have I'm gonna put together a Vanco Hall final exam, which will just be on Chief Architect. And so
Is that the 10th, the Sunday?
Yeah, that's the 10th, Sunday the 10th. Okay.
Okay.
So,
Yep.
so if you're missing any submissions, please make sure to get them all uploaded by that point, so I have ample time to grade for you guys. So what I wanted to do today is to just walk through some of the stuff that, sorry, hold on, I got a full screen. I want to walk through the stuff that is in the assignment for this week. There's videos, and the assignment handout goes over everything, but I think it might help you just to see it one more time, or for the first time with me here on the screen. So I'm basically going to share my screen and walk through what you're going to be doing for your assignment.
Ms. Cajun, before you start doing that, I just have a quick question. Did you receive my email about the layout file? Like, if you have trouble opening it, to let me know.
Yeah, didn't I respond to you?
No, that's why I was just making sure you. Unless you might have, I just never got the email.
Did you? I thought I sent an email to the whole class.
Yeah, I got an email about that.
Didn't you guys get an email about layout?
Oh well, yeah, I submitted, but I submitted it, so I guess I'm good.
Wait. Hold on a second. Is your question whether I saw your?
Yeah, just whether you saw my email or not. I sent it like a few days ago.
So first you asked a question about it opening as showing up as a SketchUp file, right?
Oh no, it was like when I submitted, I was like I submitted it, and like if you have any trouble on it.
Oh, okay, I have not. I will. I'll let you know if I can't open it. Okay.
Okay.
But did everybody get that email about the layout? It looks like a SketchUp file. It looks like a SketchUp layout file. It might, if you don't have SketchUp installed on your home computer, then this might not affect you. But if you have both programs, and depending on which one you installed first or second, your computer will think that a Chief Architect layout file is actually a SketchUp layout file. And when you double click on it, it tries to open it with SketchUp layout, which can't interpret the data. So I sent you the workaround. Anybody still having trouble with that?
I just deleted layout.
Okay, I mean, that works as well until you want to.
Yeah, because I got the free version, so I can use SketchUp for free for the rest of my life, but it doesn't include the pro things, so it's layout and style builder, but still works pretty decent. Okay.
Yeah, so if you want to have both layout and Chief Architect on your machine like I do, then you just have to recognize that if it's a Chief Architect file, you'll first open Chief Architect, and then from within Chief Architect, you say open layout, and then you navigate to where that file is in your operating system, and then open it that way. Hold on one second, guys. All right, so I'm going to share my screen and start walking through this. Let me know when you can see the Chief Architect.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is pretty much what your plan should look like at the end of last week. And there was something that I didn't specifically go over, and you may or may not have picked up on this. I haven't looked at your submissions to see whether you did it, but so I just wanted to go over it. These room labels, they get set by when you double click on a room, it opens up the room specification dialog and you set the room type, right? So this I'm setting to type bedroom 2. And then as soon as I set the type for the room, it'll automatically put this room label in here. Well, this room is one big room. So if I tried to set a room label for it, I can't, if I set it to kitchen, it's gonna whole thing kitchen. But I don't want this whole thing to be kitchen. This is actually divided into 2 rooms, but there's not a wall between them. So what you have to do here is insert what's called a room divider. Okay, so it's like a wall, but it doesn't have any thickness. So from the walls drop down, you choose room divider, and then you just draw a line here. And turn that on. And so now I can turn this part into kitchen and this part into, what did I call that one? Dining room? Can't remember if it was dining. Okay, and then I'm gonna, what the heck? Did you guys see that?
Yeah.
Who scribbled on my,
Where did
the
that
blue
come from?
I have no idea. What is
Oh
that?
yeah, you can draw on somebody's screen. That's
You can
probably how to do it.
Did you do that, Brom?
No, because I have no clue where it is. I can't find it.
Who drew on my screen? Nobody?
Oh, annotate, I found it.
But how do you get rid of it?
Oh look.
All right. Who's doing it?
Oh, I did the green one.
Who's annotating my screen? Nobody?
I did the green one around the kitchen. That was me.
I got no idea how to even do that. So
It's an option. It says annotate.
All right, don't give them any ideas. All right,
Oh.
maybe it just randomly happened.
thanks, Brom.
Can you even type?
All right. Yeah, but we don't need to do that. It's too distracting. All right, so that's how that's how we create the room labels for those 2 separate parts of that. Okay, so the next thing that we need to do is create a door and a window schedule. And there's a video that steps you through creating the schedules. It's actually pretty straightforward, but we always put our schedules, put them on their
Excuse
own.
me. Sorry.
We're gonna put them on their own view. So we could put them on the we could put them on right on this plan, but we want to put them on their own sheet. So that's under the CAD details section of folder of the the project browser. So I'm going to open up my schedules detail and place my schedules on, and create a window and door schedule on here. And then when I take them to layout, then I'll insert them onto the layout page that I want them to be on. So under tools, schedules, here you have options. The video that you watch, it talks mostly about cabinet schedules, but we're just doing a door schedule and a window schedule. So I'm gonna place a door schedule. And then I'm also going to place a window schedule here. And as soon as I've placed them, I just go back, I hit spacebar to get back to my regular cursor. Otherwise it'll just keep placing them. So these—
Where did you grab that from?
Pardon?
Where did you grab that from?
So that comes from tools. So first of all, I am on my schedules detail view, which is under the CAD details folder in the project browser. And then I go to the tools, schedules, the door schedule or window schedule. And as soon as I choose one of those, it turns my cursor into
Gotcha.
basically like a stamp. Like I could stamp a whole bunch of these if I wanted to, but I don't need a whole bunch of duplicates of window schedules. So I just need one of them. I'm going to delete all but one. Okay. So now the window schedule and the door schedules, these are bigger and have more information than we had on our, we're basically making our plan look very similar to our CARP 120 plan. And this is a much more complex window schedule. This is, you might want all of this information if you were designing a house, but we don't want such a complicated window schedule. So what we're going to do is open it up and edit it. So I can double click on it, and that opens up the schedule specification dialog. And so now I have the ability using these two menus to either add columns or remove columns. So I'm going to remove a bunch of columns. So I don't want this picture of the window. It takes up too much space. So I'm going to take that 3D exterior elevation and I'm going to remove it. I'm going to leave the number, that is my identifier, but I'm going to take away the label because we didn't have that in our CARP 120 plan. And we don't need the floor because our house only has one floor. So we don't need that. That would basically say it's on floor 1, but we don't need it because we don't have multiple floors on this house. So it's kind of irrelevant. I'm going to take that out. I want to keep the size and the rough opening. Egress is not essential for this. So I'm going to take that out. I'm leaving description, and then everything else I'm getting rid of. So I'm really simplifying our schedule. And then the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to rename the description column heading to match how we had it named in our CARP 120 plan. So I select description and I say rename and I call it style just to match our other plans. Okay, and so watch my window schedule when I hit OK, and you'll see it change. Okay, so it's gotten much smaller. Now with all these edit handles, I can edit the size of my columns if I wanted to, and I can drag them around to reorder them, but I like the way it automatically resizes. It makes the schedule as minimal as possible. So I'm going to do the same thing with my door schedule. So by double clicking on it, I open up the schedule specification. I can also get to that by clicking on it and going to the open object button. Remember, there's always multiple ways of getting into these dialogues. So I could go to the open object button there. And here, in the same way, I'm gonna move that. I'm gonna get rid of the exterior elevation. It takes up too much space. So that's the picture of our doors. I'm getting rid of the label. I'm gonna get rid of the floor. On this one, I don't think oh no, we did have the size. I'm taking away header, code, manufacturing comments. Those don't even have data in them. And I'm renaming description to style. And then I say, okay. And that makes that a lot smaller and more manageable. Now, I want to place, so this is a view in my Chief Architect plan file, but now what I have to do is insert it into my layout file. So the first thing that I have to do is open up that layout file, which in fact, I'm going to create a new, I don't think I have a layout created yet. So I'm just going to create a new layout from template, from my CARP 125 template. And I'm going to quickly save this as, this is for lecture, and this is, I'm calling this layout for final. Now, I want to, first I have to put my floor plan, onto my layout. So I'm going to send to layout. I'm going to put this on page 1, 1/4 inch scaling. All right, so that gets this on page 1. I'm going to minimize that to get rid of that label. I might have to get some other stuff out of the way in a little bit. But now I want to get my schedules placed on here as well. So I'm going to go back to my schedules detail, and I'm going to add those to the layout onto the same page. So page number 1, same scale. And that plunked it right in the middle. And so now I can move it out of the way. Now the thing is, it has both my window and door schedule, but that's not how, like, there's no way for me to fit these on the page when they're organized like this. So I'm actually going to start by minimizing just the door schedule. So I basically cut the window schedule out of this view. There. And now I can move it to where it's just visible at the bottom of the sheet. I'll put it over here. And then I can do the same thing. I can insert this view again. And that put it back here. And now I'm going to minimize it to cut out just the window schedule part of it. So I basically inserted that view twice. And then on one of them, I cut out the window part, and on the other one, I cut out the door part. And I'm going to drop these down. We just need as much room as possible. I'm going to drop them down like really close to the bottom of my screen. Depending on how you made these doors fit in the hallway of the house. So when I made these doors fit, some of the doors automatically got a little smaller just to make them fit in that space as we changed stuff around as we made our stairwell. So these, let's see, these 3 doors were originally the same door size, but when this hallway got a little shrunk, this door changed size. So now I have 3 different door styles. So this ends up being a little bit bigger than our door schedule from our CARP 120 plan, but that's okay. All right, any questions on door schedules? The other thing that I wanted to do, notice that our door schedule gives our windows and our doors a number, but we are missing the corresponding callouts in our plan. And this is because the layer set that we are using for our floor plan does not have the window and door labels turned on. So I have to go back to, not to the working view, I want to go back to the first floor plan, all right? And this is one of my saved views. So this is over here, you can see in my project browser, this is my floor plan view dimensioned. And if I open this, this view for editing, I can see which layer set it is using. So it's using the floor plan dimensioned layer set. So this is what controls which layers are turned on or turned off in this view. So if I open up this layer set to inspect it and to edit it, I'm going to go down and find those window and door labels. So first I'm going to start by filtering on the word window. And here's my window labels. You can see that it's not being displayed, but I want it displayed. So I click here to turn that on. Okay, and so when I say okay, and then okay, you're going to see, oh, they already showed up over here, my window labels. So I also need to turn on my door labels. So I'm going to say, I'm going to do the same thing. Turn on my door labels and say okay and okay. And now I've got the little call outs for my doors and my windows. Now there's a couple things I want to do. I want to move them so that they're not sitting on top of my dimension lines, but I also want to change their enclosing shape to match our CARP 120 plan. Do you guys remember what symbol we use for our doors in the CARP 120 plan?
Circles.
Circles, very good. And what did we use for our windows? Anybody?
Squares.
Who said that?
Nick.
Good. Okay, so going back to our schedules, this is where that gets set. So I went back to, sorry, I'll do that a little slower. So I went back to my schedules detail view, and I double clicked on my door schedule, and I'm going down to the labels tab. And here's where it's using a call out for labels. So instead of just giving the identifier, it's using a call out and the identifier number here. This is where I can change it from a capsule to a circle. If I say okay here, and then we go back to our floor plan view, you see that those have changed to circles. And now I'm gonna do the same thing, sorry. I'm gonna do the same thing with the windows. I'm going to double click to open up my window schedule specification, click on the labels and change those to squares. And then now I can double check on my dimension floor plan view. I've got squares for my windows, circles for my doors. I'm just gonna take a second and move stuff so that it's not cluttered. So if I wanna move this door label, I click on the door and then I get an edit handle on the label and I can move it in. I can't just click on the, if I try to click on the label on the call out, I end up clicking on the dimension line instead. So first click on the window and then grab the edit handle and move it in. So you can pretty quickly just get those where you want them to be. So it's not, so that they're not being so cluttery. And that one. And that one. All right. Okay, and now I can go check my layout and make sure. So all of those changes, this is the nice thing about layout, is that all of those changes have propagated through. I don't have to like send anything again or update my reference. They're all just coming through. Now, one thing that you'll notice is that things are getting kind of squished in this plan. This dimension and this dimension are redundant. So I can remove one of these dimensions and save a little bit of space on my plan. So I'm just gonna go back to my floor plan and I'm gonna get rid of this one on the top. So I'm just gonna click on this dimension line and hit delete. Just hit the delete key. And it's gonna ask me, because I have my automatic, my auto refresh dimensions turned on, if I delete it, it's just gonna put it back there the next time I do anything. So I'm gonna say yes to turn auto refresh dimensions, excuse me, to turn it off. And then I can get that out of the way. And then here, I've gained a little bit more space to just move stuff up out of the way. All right. So there we have our schedules. The next thing that we're gonna do is to create our elevations, right? So we're done with our schedule. So I'm gonna close that schedules detail and then I'm going to erase these annoying annotations. Just get them out of there. All right, and I'm going to just close my foundation view for a bit and go back to my floor plan view. All right, so there is a, in the assignment handout, it has you rewatch a video that was put up there last week. So the orthographic views video, I want you to rewatch that one. that'll step you through this process. So it's actually creating elevation views is super easy using the automatic elevations tool. So under, so first of all, over here in my project browser, the cross sections folder is empty. I don't have any cross sections created. My elevations are going to go into that folder. It's basically cross sections and elevations. It's orthographic projections looking horizontally at the house are put in that folder. So from the 3D menu, there is a Create Auto Elevations submenu. And from here, you can automatically just create all of your elevations. This is saying that the layer cameras is not displayed. I do want to turn on that display because I want to see where those cameras are. The cameras, I'm going to say yes. These are the cameras, and those are going to stay. They're going to show up as the call outs when I go to my layout, which I think I have to, oh, right, I don't, oh, these are outside of that, that clipping mask. Okay, so these cameras are too far away, so I have to move them all in so that they show up on my layout. See them just showing up now? I have to expand my viewport here so that you actually see them. And I'm gonna expand this as well so that we can get them all showing up. We're gonna have to move stuff around a little bit, and these have to get pulled in. Oops, sorry, I didn't mean to do that. These get pulled down, and I'm actually gonna scooch that one over like that so I can tuck it right in close, and that one's gonna go up there. And so now, oops, here, let's move this down just a smidge so that upper, we might have to move that one just over a dimension line just to make it fit. All right. There. And now those elevation callouts show up on this plan. All right. And if I want to see those elevation views, I can either double click on one of those cameras to get to that elevation view, or these are now saved camera views, or I can go to my saved camera views in my project browser and open them directly from here. So now I have my 4 elevations, 1, 2, 3, 4. And in Carp 120, I just had you draw 2 elevations. Remember that there was a lot of work drawing the elevations, but it's not, with a program like Chief Architect, it's no more difficult to draw 4 elevations than it is to draw 2. So we're gonna do all 4 elevations. But first of all, looking at our roof line here, do you guys notice anything different about the way the roof line is drawn here than it was in Carp 120 at our eaves? Anybody? Nobody?
Is it? I don't know.
Who was saying that, Dan?
Colton.
Colton, what do you see?
They just stick straight out.
They stick straight out. In our Carp 120 plan, we had what's called boxed.
Oh, okay.
We had a flat soffit here, right? And here we just have a roof overhang and a slope soffit underneath. So what we want to do is make sure that this gets a boxed eave as well, so that it is built correctly. So I'm going to go back to my floor plan view, and this is actually set up in the build roof dialog. So if I go into build roof again, we've already built the roof, but you're going to go back into it, and you're going to go to options. Under options, you can really easily make this a boxed eave. And let's see, I'm not sure if I have to build my roof plane now. I'm going to go back to that elevation. Oops, not that elevation. That elevation. See now how I have the pork chop and my boxed eave on there? So you need to get that set before you draw your elevations. All right. These elevations are almost ready to send to your layout, but we do need some dimension lines on our elevations. And once again, Chief Architect makes it really easy to draw our elevations on, to draw our dimensions on our elevations using the auto story pole dimensions. So this automatically creates benchmarks for your elevations. So when you're looking at an elevation view, your automatic dimensions drop down has more options. So here, the auto story pole dimensions option does not show up when you're in a floor plan view. In a floor plan view, you get a different set of options for your dimensions. But in a elevation view, you get the auto story pole dimensions option. So if I just click on this, just like that, I get my, my dimensions show up. And if I want to, you can choose what your benchmarks, what benchmarks are dimensioned to through, like everything in Chief Architect, through your defaults. So if I go into my dimension defaults and look at my auto story pole dimensions, under the locate elevations tab, this is where I get to choose what is what is showing up in this story pole. So I actually want my top of slab to show up, and I want my, so I checked that one on, and I want my top of foundation to be benchmarked. So I'm gonna take top of foundation and add it to my marks to include. I want the bottom of my footing. I don't want headers. I want the highest ridge. I want the top of foundation. I don't want top of plate. I've got the top of my subfloor and top of slab. So now I'm gonna hit OK. I'm gonna say done, and I actually have to redo my story poles because I've made some changes. They didn't automatically update. So if I just click that button again, oh, I'm sorry, I did want top of plate. I accidentally took it out and it took out the top of my top plate. So I'm gonna add that one back in. Dimensions, auto story pole, locate elevations, top of plate, add that one back in, done, hit my auto story pole dimensions, that one's in there. Now, there's these two dimension strings, and for the most part, they're kind of redundant. Like they're both showing from the bottom of the footer to the top of the slab, and then to the top of the foundation. The only difference is that this one then shows where my window openings are. So I don't want all these additional redundant dimensions. So I want to get rid of them. But before I do, I actually want to get an elevation to the bottom of my window. So I'm going to go back into those dimension defaults. And so under locate objects, on my openings, I want to make sure that I'm getting my rough openings for that. And let me just check if that should get highest ridge slab. And that should, now I've got a dimension that goes to the bottom of my window rough opening and the top of my window rough opening. So I've got this, these both showing up. So I want to get rid of some of these redundant ones. So on this inner string, this is the one where I want to have my window openings dimensioned. So I want to get rid of all of the other dimension lines. So I clicked on the dimension string, which allows me to edit it. And if I want this dimension to go away, I need to get this extension line to go away. So if I click on this extension line and I just drag it up and away from wherever it was, up at an angle, it makes that part of the dimension go away. I also don't want this dimension, so I'm going to grab this extension and make it go away. Now, there is still this extension line here. That's for this dimension string, but you'll notice that I've now lost the dimension line here on the inner dimension string. So I'm going to get rid of this lowest one and this one and this one. And so now on this inner string, all I have are dimensions, and I'm going to move this one so that it's a little bit easier to read what's it's dimensioning. This is from the top of my subfloor to the bottom of my window, and then a dimension to the top of my window, rough opening, okay? And that's all that's showing up in this dimension string. Now on the second dimension string, I don't want the window in there. So I'm going to take the window out of this one. I just want the window on the inner string. And now I have one dimension string that gives my building lines. So I've got my top of my slab, I've got the top of my plate, I've got the top of subfloor, top of plate on my upper wall, my highest ridge. Those main dimensions are showing up on this outer string, and on this inner string, it's just giving my window heights, okay? So I can do that now for all of my elevations. And I have to clean them all up. I'm not going to step through that on all of them. Oops, that wasn't what I wanted to do. I wanted to do just my auto story pulls there and this one. And so you can spend a little bit of time cleaning those up so that those two, the inner and the outer dimension strings, aren't just duplicating the exact same information. All right. Next, what I have to do is put all of these on my layout sheet. So I've got, this is my, I've got my floor plan here. I actually don't have my foundation plan in here yet. So I'm going to go back to my plan views and open up my foundation plan. And I'm going to add this one to my layout. Now I don't want to put it on page 1 because that's where my floor plan is. So I'm going to put it on page 2. And if I go to my layout, and if I want to reorder those, so if I want my foundation, which is typically on the first page, under the pages folder in the project browser, you can just drag and reorder these. So I can drag page 2 up, and now page 1 is my foundation plan, and page 2 is my floor plan. So if you've created your pages and then you want to reorder them, it's really easy. You don't have to delete stuff and then put it back on. And that error message that I got saying my plan was too big for the sheet, that's just because this bounding box is bigger than it needs to be. Now I also don't want, we typically don't have these elevation callouts on our foundation plan. So I'm going to go back to for each of these cameras, each of these callouts they can be displayed on only one floor if you want them to. So if I go to, actually what I can do, I think I can select all of them at once. So I've selected all 4 cameras and I'm opening those up. This is my elevation specification. In my plan display, I can say, do not display on all floors. All right, so I only want them displayed on the floor that I place them on. Now when I say okay, and I go back to my foundation plan view, now those elevation callouts are gone from this view, which is how I want it to display. So now we've got on our layout, let me close some of these. What can I close? I can close that one. I'm going to leave that one. I have my 4 elevations and I'm going to put them not on page 1, not on page 2. I'm going to place them on page 3. So I'm going to go to each elevation. I'm going to place it on page 3. And these we are going to place at 1/8 inch scale so that we can fit all 4 on one sheet. I'm going to say okay. There's that one showed up. I'm going to place this one, all of them at 1/8 inch scale.
All this is due Sunday, right?
Yeah. There's that one. Okay, and so I can just start moving these around a little bit so that they're not I'm going to place this one. And I'm going to place this one. All right. Now, to get these lined up, a trick you can do is just use these CAD lines to make temporary lines. I'm going to make a temporary vertical, oops, delete that, a temporary vertical line and a horizontal line. And then from here, I'm going to make another temporary vertical line and a horizontal line. So I've made this little grid of, this line has to go up to cross, okay? And I can use this, so if I want to move this elevation to line up with that elevation, I can use the point-to-point move tool. So if I've selected this elevation and I'm saying point-to-point move, and the first thing I'm going to select is the corner of the ridge here, and then I'm going to click on that intersection of those lines that I just drew, and that'll snap it into place, lining it up with that elevation. I can do the same thing with this elevation, use the point-to-point move, select that corner, and move it to there. And then this one needs to move over just a little bit. So I'm going to use that to snap to, oops, that didn't grab the right thing. So point to point there, I'm going to snap it and move it way out of the way. Point to point there, I'm going to come back to there. All right. And now I can just delete those temporary lines that were those CAD lines. And now everything is lined up. All right. With all of my benchmarks showing up. So that's page 3. That's my elevations page. The final page is our section detail. Who can tell me what a section detail is? What do we show in a section detail?
Inside the wall, like when it's
Right. Yeah, exactly. It's like you're slicing down. It's like you take a chainsaw and you slice down through a wall, through the roof, down through the wall, everything in there, and then you pull one side of it away and you look at what's inside. So once again, we want to go back to our floor plan, and to draw our section detail, we are going to use the back clipped cross section. We use the back clip cross section when we don't want to see everything beyond our camera view. So so it's up here, back clip cross section. When I place my camera view looking to the left, I don't want to see this wall and this closet and that door. I just want to see what is in this wall and the roof. So I'm just going to come far enough that I'm going to see my framing. I want to go far enough that I'm crossing a few joists and a few rafters, but I don't want to go this far because then I'll see that wall and that door and all that other stuff. So I go about this far. And this is what it looks like, that cross section. And here you can see those boxed eaves all drawn out for you. Make sure, I'm going to undo what I just did. Make sure when you draw your back clip cross section, I hit undo and I think it was too much for the computer. Oh, no. I'm going to leave that one. Make sure when you're drawing your back clip cross section that you don't go at an angle, right? I'm drawing that's looking at some funny angle. I don't want to cut a section at some funny angle. I want to cut my section at 90 degrees to my wall. So make sure you're pulling horizontally so that you're looking square at that wall when you cut it. Can you guys hear me? It says my internet connection is unstable.
I can hear you.
We hear you, but it's choppy at some points.
It's
Yeah,
choppy?
it's just kind of breaks up sometimes.
Okay, when you miss something, I'm sorry, it's terrible rural internet. If you miss something, just shout at me and I'll back up, all right?
For the section view thing, is there a place we're supposed to put it for the lab, or we just place it anyway?
The section?
Yeah, like was there a specific spot that you wanted?
So it's somewhere in this upper right-hand corner of the house. So I definitely want it in this, I want it in bedroom 1 and I want it in this upper wall because what I want to see us looking at the slope of the roof. If I do a back clip cross section here, I'm going to see something entirely different. I'm going to be looking at the edge of my rafters. So let's see what this back clip cross section looks like, right? It looks totally different. I'm slicing through all my joists and I see all their ends, and here's my ceiling joist and here's my rafters where they got cut, and then just the amount visible of their undersides for that distance that I've back clipped. So this is not what I want to see in a section view. Because it doesn't give me the opportunity to tell me the slope to look at the slope of that roof. So I do want to see this, but we want a section detail. We don't want a full cross section. Full cross section is a very valuable view, but for our plan, we are just doing, remember when in Carp 120, we only looked at like this much of the roof here, right? It was like this much of a view. You guys remember hand drawing that? It was maybe one of the hardest tabs that you guys had as far as.
That was the funnest one.
Oh, good. I'm so glad you said that. All right. How do we make this only include that much? We go back to our floor plan and we select that camera. And now here, if I double click on this camera, it's going to take me to that view. It's going to open the view. but I don't want to open the view. I want to open the camera specification. So I go and I hit the open button down here. Okay, so the first thing I need to do is make this a saved view because I want it to show up in my project browser. So I'm going to save it and I'm going to rename it to section details. And I am going to clip to the sides. I'll show you what that does in a second. And then we are also going to, this one, once again, we don't want to display on all floors. We don't need it in our foundation view. And we want our call out placement on both sides. We don't have the option to do a flag like we did in Carp 120. So we're gonna put that call out on both sides. Now I'm gonna hit okay. And what you'll see is that we got a call out on each end of that cross section, and I can drag these in. And when I drag them in, I'm setting the extents of that cross section view. So now when I look at my cross section, it's nipped off. I only have a short distance shown here. All right, so that allows me to trim this down and only show a little bit of it. Now, what are some of the things? Do you remember how in this lab you had to annotate everything? It was like a heavy, this was the lab where you learned about annotation. And some of what you were annotating is shown here, right? So we annotated our concrete wall, and we annotated our mud sill, and we annotated our rim joist, and we annotated our siding and our sheathing. But what else did we annotate that we're not seeing in this drawing? That was in the walls and in the roof. What's normally what's in our walls and in our ceiling?
Insulation.
Insulation, right? And insulation is shown with a symbol. And also remember, we used a symbol for our concrete. What did the symbol for concrete look like?
Looked like little pebbles.
Yeah, little sharp pebbles and sand. So there were lots of dots. And then the insulation was that squiggly line, which was a real pain in the neck to draw. Okay. So Chief Architect actually has this handy tool under the CAD menu. You just hit auto detail. And just like that, we've got our concrete stippling and we've got our insulation showing up in our walls and our ceiling. Now, if you look closely, you'll see the insulation actually goes over our bottom plates, and we don't want that to happen. So we can just click on that CAD detail and drag it up. We can do the same thing up at the top so that you can make it look like how it's supposed to look. Okay, and now we're not done with this drawing yet, but I'm just going to go ahead and plunk it into our layout here. And this one, we're going to put it on page 4, and we want this one to be able to show the detail a little more clearly. So I'm going to make it at a 1/2 inch scale and send it to, it says it's too large, but it's actually not. So I'm going to say okay. It says it's too large because the bounding box for it is so big, but if I shrink that down now, it will fit. If I want to center this in my sheet, I can choose this, choose the viewport and use the center on object and choose the center of my page, click there, and then it centers it. All right, so what we are missing now is our annotations, right? So we have to go back to that drawing, and this is where we draw our annotations using our text with a leader line tool. Right? So with this tool, I can point to something. So I want to point to my footer. I can click and drag away, and I have these angle snaps which allow me to have all of my leader lines maintain the same angle. So if I use that angle snap and then line up with one of these vertical lines, and then I come over horizontally and I'm going to go a certain distance and click. Now I can type my annotation, which I believe this one said, and you'll have the, oh, I have it down here. This one says, nope, I don't have it open. I believe it said footer 16" by 8". And I say, okay. And then I can draw my next leader line. And if I use that same angle snap, I can align it with the line below it by just hovering over until I get that snap, and then drawing when I get that when I get the little X. So this is going to be my 8". I can't remember it specifically. Word in place. Right. So I can work my way up doing, drawing all the annotations. And if you look at the assignment, it has all the annotations. Now I want to check the section details. I want to check what layer set it is using. It's using my section view layer set, but that I believe is the same layer set as my elevations. So I actually want to create my own layer set for, no, I'm sorry, that's not what I wanted to do. What do I want to do? I want to change the size of my annotations on this. The layer set is fine. Under edit view, under the selected defaults, I want to use my 1/2" scale annotations, and that's going to change all of these annotations. And then when and you have to set your defaults, sorry, cancel, before you start typing. So you, so once you change it, what is this, my 2x10 header. All right, see how that's a smaller, that's writing at a smaller font, and that's the size text that we want. So now that these have been drawn at the wrong annotation size, you would have to redo them. So you want to be sure to change the selected defaults for your annotations before you start drawing your leader lines. So these would get deleted and then redrawn at the correct annotation size. Oops, always hit return. All right. And then when I go to my layout, you might have to open up the, make sure that this is opened up far enough that you can see all of your annotations. At the back of the lab handout is a PDF of what that layout should look like. So what your elevation should look like, what your section details should look like. So you want to be looking at that to make sure that your plan matches. You're also going to use the same annotation to annotate your foundation plan, right? So on your foundation plan view dimensioned, you're going to annotate this. Remember, in our original plan, we had annotations pointing to the wall, pointing to our beam. You're going to want to make sure that your posts are dimensioned the way they were in the way they are in the drawing. So just make sure that you have all the annotations and dimensions that are shown in the sample at the back of the handout. Any questions? I know that was a lot to listen to on Zoom. Who's still awake? Nobody?
My computer died.
Your computer died?
Yeah.
So
That's
you
why
just
back. That's why I left.
you just came back?
Yep.
Steven, are you awake?
Yeah, I'm here.
Dan, did you fall asleep? Dan fell asleep.
No, I didn't.
Colton, you still there?
I'm right here.
I'm here, Mrs. KJ.
Becca?
Rom, how you?
Still here, KJ.
Hunter? Hunter's hunting.
Yeah.
Stop hunting. He's hunting turkeys.
I wish. No offense.
None taken. There are many things I'd rather be doing. But no, I'd
Max, just give us all A's and that's it.
no, I enjoy my time. I enjoy chatting with you, but I don't, Zooming.
So we could
I'd rather be
chat and then you could
face-to-face.
just give us A's.
Your solo is called the rest of the semester.
No, you guys got to draw it. I want you to draw it because it is valuable. And at a certain point, it becomes kind of fun. All right, any questions? Anything that you want me to go over again? I have it all. I have it all written out in the assignment handout. I know it can be tricky to follow written instructions.
Where are you gonna post the video of this?
Oh, right. I will just put it. Thank you for reminding me that I was recording.
I got you.
I have to make sure I figure out how to do that. I'm going to upload it to Vanco Hall.
Okay.
Assuming that I don't run into technological complications, but hopefully I'll just be able to upload it. All right.
Yep.
But and also, all the videos, I'm basically going over stuff that is in all the videos. A lot of the videos are were on Vanco Hall from last week. I put links to them in the assignment handout, the relevant ones, and I even gave timestamps for where to start watching for specific information. So if I am unable to upload this, read the assignment, look for the links in the assignment, watch those videos. I don't know if I don't know if I put you to sleep as much as the narrator and the chief architect puts you to sleep.
We're all awake, so.
You are now that I started. See, they can't call you by name in the chief architect videos, so. All right, and then I will do on Wednesday afternoon, I will do another Zoom for whoever wants to go over anything. So this will be the last opportunity to, I'm always available to touch base one-on-one if you need me, so you can set up an individual appointment, but that'll be our last official Zoom class session on Wednesday at 4. So if you are planning on asking me some questions, just send me an email so that I know that there are people who want to show up. Okay.
Got it.
Can we go?
I'm probably gonna miss KJ.
No, food
I'm
is ready. I'm
definitely
hungry.
gonna be on the one Wednesday.
Okay. So we'll definitely be here because Colton's going to be there.
Okay.
Anybody else have any
I'll
more
just let
questions?
you know.
Great. Any other questions?
No, that's it.
No,
All
I'm
right.
good, Miss KJ.
Great. Well, thanks, guys. Have a good night. Enjoy your dinner. I'll catch you
Yep.
on Wednesday.
All right, you guys all have a wonderful.
Everyone
All
for
right.
that. Bye.
Have
Later,
a good one,
bro.
guys.
Peace.
Bye.
See ya.
Adios.
Ms. KJ,
Yeah.
if I need help with the last lab,
Yep.
when is like a good time? Do like a one-on-one Zoom.
Anytime. Do you want to do it right now?
I can't right now, but
Okay. I mean, what are your days like? What's it like?
they're like pretty free. I just go and help out at like our flip house whenever, but I don't have to go every day.
Okay. Well, I'm available. It's usually a little bit easier for me to meet in the mornings because in the afternoons I'm usually running kids around a little bit more. So if you're free tomorrow morning, tomorrow, let's see, I have a meeting at 11. So I don't know. Are you free at like 8 or 9?
Yeah,
What do you want to
probably
8 or 9? You tell me.
probably 9.
9?
I'm not gonna lie, I probably won't wake up for 8 a.m.
But 9 o'clock works?
Yeah.
Okay.
Everything I did, it didn't work.
Yeah, that's fine. We'll walk through it. I mean, a lot of times it's just like stepping through it with someone else and figuring out. If you want to email me what you did now or sometime before then, it's a little bit easier for me to diagnose stuff by looking at it on my own screen because I can then play around with it. So why don't you email me what you have so far and then we'll like share screens tomorrow at 9.
Okay.
Sound good?
Yeah. Thank you.
Yep, no problem. Have a good night.
You too.
See ya.